What's up, y'all? It is your boy. Not the worst day on the planet. Definitely not the best, but we are here. Um, so today, I wanted to talk a little bit about fight or flight. Um, a lot of people don't talk too much. I suppose it depends how much life experience you've had to understand that there's fight, flight, or freeze. A lot of people will freeze actually from the impending doom in front of you. Um, if you haven't been in a life or death situation, um, I've been in a quite a few actually. Um, you truly have no idea how you're going to act until you get there. And freezing is probably the worst thing ever. It's pretty close. I There might be worse feelings. I'm just not entirely sure. Like a feeling of abject powerlessness. Because like, if horrible things happen to you, but you're fighting or trying to run or whatever, you might feel powerless because you fail. But someone else is doing that to you. You're kind of like victimized, but you're not necessarily inherently powerless. Um, you're not weak. You are just weaker. But if you freeze, you're weak. Um, there's like it's the single worst thing you could possibly do is freeze, um, which is crazy because there's a whole litany of terrible things you could do. Um, I started out freezing. I've been quite a few situations, um, life or death, and or the first two where I really that really instilled like, oh, I freeze. Um, I took me a lot to recover from that. Now I don't really fight, flight, or freeze. I sense a situation. I'm self aware of the impending freeze coming in, and I move. Right, that move could be anything, but I know what's coming, and so I can change what I'm doing accordingly. Um, the first time was I got hit by a car. I was biking down this street and it was pouring rain. The speed limit I think was 30 miles per hour. He was in like a white windowless van and just plowed into me, probably 60 miles per hour while I was on my bike. By some miracle, I lived and was not like paralyzed or anything. Like I was actually fine. Um, Absolutely destroyed my bike. But I remember I was biking and I was going forward, and I remember seeing the van coming for me, and I saw his headlights, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, I'm dead. I'm like actually, I'm actually toast. And I think if I hadn't frozen, perhaps I could have gotten out of the way. I think it's probably wishful thinking. 60 miles per hour is probably faster than my reflex or literally anything I could do on a bicycle would have led me. But I'd like to think that if I didn't freeze, I could probably do it. I saw the car. I saw the headlights. I literally felt my entire life flash before my eyes, and then he hit me. I was gonna say hit me like a truck. I guess he actually hit me like an unmarked white van, and I flew across the street and was like crawling around, and then he drove off. He hit and ran me. Anyway, moral of the story. Um, Even if I couldn't make it out of the way, I will never know because I froze. There was no fight. There was no flight. I completely froze. I saw life or death danger in front of me, and I didn't decide. Um, I was forced to stop moving. My body just completely froze up. Right? Okay, so that happens, right? And I realize, okay, I'm going to freeze the next time something happens. So I'm like, okay. So I think I must have been 13 at most when that happened. So later on, I am older. I'm let's say I had a criminal element when I was younger. I was not the best person, as you will find out on this channel as it continues, or if you've watched previous videos or whatever. So I was picking up, we'll say I was picking up a package from a sketchy area. And I was in this dude's house. It was the first time I'd met, I suppose, like, maybe not the first time, but it was like my first, like, one on one interpersonal dealings with a professional criminal. That's just all he did. So I walk in the house. I'm like 15. I've got like two racks on me, and he is like 6'5", like 250, built like a side of beef, black dude, dreadhead. And I'm in this, and you know, I lightened up a lot when I when I got older, but I was just like I was like 5'5", 5'6", real skinny, Hispanic kid. I had a couple racks on me. I had I had chains, I had bigger chains, and I just stuffed them in my bag. I had this like big ass backpack on me too. And I remember I went in this complex, and you know, he you know, we were making a transaction, and essentially I told him it was light, which it wasn't actually, right? But I told him it was light. He looked at me a little upset, and he was like, "It's not." Right? And he went out and he came back, because he was going to get a cup, so he was going to dump it in and show me outside the bag, because it's just a thin bag. For some reason, I thought that the bag was going to be like a have some kind of like weight change. So he walks into the other room, and I realize that I didn't tell anybody where I was. I was hot, and I had a significant amount of money on me. And I realized that if he came back with a hammer, if he came back with a firearm, I was toast. Like, I was actually done for. Like, anything could happen to me, and nobody would know. No one has any idea where I am. I didn't tell anybody. None of my friends, none of my partners, nobody. So I was in there, and I realized that he had just gone to the other room. I was no protection whatsoever, and I realized I was toast. I was like, oh my god, like, I'm screwed. I just pissed off this dude. He's absolutely gargantuan. He really honestly doesn't need a firearm. I'm toast. And I was like, okay, I need to get out of here ASAP. I should have never said anything. And I didn't vet this guy. This is the first time meeting him. He wasn't even a friend of a friend. He did not have references. I just ran in this place. I was just like, you know, I want to make this happen. And he went into the other room, and I froze completely. I completely froze. Powerless. A powerless feeling, as I realized that I was completely at the mercy of another person that was a criminal. I was also a criminal and also a bad person, but he wasn't at my mercy. So he came in. He ended up scaling it. It ended up being fine. And I paid him, and I went on my merry way. But I froze for the second time. And after that, I realized that it wasn't just enough to tell myself, don't freeze. It had to be something else. It had to be, I would rather die than freeze. I would rather somebody pour boiling lava and every bit of me turn to ash before I freeze again. Since then, I don't freeze. Not freezing has saved my life quite a few times at this point. Whether it been, I almost got hit by a car while I was on my longboard. I didn't freeze that time, and it's the only reason why I live. I've had people walk up on me, ready to take what's mine, and if I had frozen, I may not be here. But at the end of the day, you don't know if you're going to freeze or not until it happens. And then, once you have it happen, assuming you're still okay afterwards, it's not just about saying, I know I'm going to freeze. It's, there is, any alternative is better than freezing. I could rip my clothes off and start screaming at the top of my lungs, and it would be 10 times better than freezing. Because anything, that's how it has to go in your head. Anything has to be better than freezing. Because to freeze is to die. And you want to live, don't freeze. Anyway, that's it. See you guys later. Probably.